All right, maybe you've seen our video on whether or not you might need a co-witness on your rifle or not, or you're just curious about what a co-witness is. Maybe you've been looking at a red dot or a holographic sight and you keep seeing people talk about absolute co-witness, lower 1/3 co-witness. It can kind of get a little confusing at times, so we're going to try and break it down for you as to what that is in general, and then from there you can decide which one maybe is best for you. So we've got this diagram written up here, and again, there's really two main types of co-witnessing. And those can really only be done, again, keep in mind, on red dots and holographic sights. Other types of rifle scopes, for example, that use optical systems, you can't really do that with those types of optics. But anyway, we'll move on here. So first we're going to show you what an absolute co-witness. And really the only difference between the two is the height that the optic is set at on top of its mount. So in an absolute co-witness, essentially we have the optic at a height that puts the dot, and we have this red dot here, right in line with your iron. So the purple, if you can imagine, is the outer sort of aperture that we're looking through our sight. And the green here, we have our rear sight, then our front sight. Everything is lined up, and the red dot is right in the middle, as you can see. Now, this is usually something you're going to be using if your battery dies essentially on your red dot. You don't usually use your red dot through your irons. It's a little bit redundant when you consider the fact that a red dot should be just as simple as putting the red dot on your target and shooting. But that's how high the red dot sits in an absolute co-witness. Now, a lower 1/3 co-witness actually means that the red dot itself, the actual physical red dot unit, sits up higher. It's in a taller mount than it does with an absolute co-witness. And the reason we call it a lower 1/3 co-witness, even though it's actually a taller mount, is because now you can see our irons end up in the lower 1/3 portion of the optic. Now, with a regular cheek weld, which is this top view here, a normal kind of comfortable cheek weld, the red dot will actually float, if you will, above the irons. And so if you're looking through a red dot, in this case, like the crossfire here sits at a lower 1/3 co-witness height, you'll notice that the red dot, if you have fixed irons, for example, or a front blade sight like this, it will sit above that iron sight, so the iron sight gets down and out of the way. That way you can use the red dot actually how it's intended to be used, which is quite simply just putting the red dot on the target and pulling the trigger, like we said. Now, if you ever were to want to use your irons, it's actually kind of interesting if the red dot were on. If you went for a low cheek weld, and we're talking about you really kind of get down into the stock at this point, you'll actually start to see, it's kind of a strange phenomena that happens in red dots and holographics. The red dot will appear to move down with you. Now mind you, that's not changing your point of aim or your point of impact actually. These are parallax free for all intents and purposes, but the red dot will appear to actually move, and then it will line up right again with your iron. So in a way, with a really low cheek weld, you'll almost get an absolute co-witness just in the lower portion of your sight. Now again, keep in mind that really the only reason we look for a co-witness of any kind in these kinds of sights is because if the battery ever should die on you, when you're out in the field, you need some kind of a point of aim, because there's no etched reticle, there's no physical reticle in there, so if the battery dies, you have no point of aim anymore. So having some type of co-witness is good to have so you can still use your irons through that optic if need be. Generally speaking, a lower 1/3 co-witness is what we found to be the most popular with most shooters, because when the red dot is on, they can use it exactly how the red dot should be used, which again is just putting the red dot on the target and pulling the trigger. But if they should ever need their irons, they still have them down there, kind of in that lower 1/3 portion of the window that they can use in emergency situations. So hopefully this helps explain the difference between an absolute co-witness and a lower 1/3 co-witness a little bit better. As always, if you have any questions at all, we're always happy to help. You can give us a call, shoot us an email, hit us up on social media, and we'd love to chat. So thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one and happy shooting.